Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis here, and it is July 14th. Another week in Destiny is here. We had a patch 2.9.1.1, I believe, and a lot of that stuff was just quality of life. I'll cover a couple important pieces at the end, but nothing too major. But I'll cover a couple as we go throughout, too, that have kind of been updated and confirmed to work. Now, it's another week, so of course we got to work on our means to an end quest, so make sure you go visit the Prismatic Recaster. And this week, the public event is going to be sitting on Titan. Now, remember, you got to do this. Typically, for me, it tends to get done in 2 runs to make sure you actually get enough progress on means to an end to head off to go gather the Umbral traces. One thing to note, though, about the Contact public event. As it moves around the location, we also have the option now to work towards the Triumph that we've been kind of waiting on. So this Triumph right here, Contact Heavy Hitters, does work. So the Taken Howler this week is the newer boss that we've probably seen, but it's just been a little while. It's the big knight that's kind of immune shielded when he spawns, and you'll have a couple knights. You need to get him close to those knights, kill the knights once they're close to him, the smaller ones, and then once those knights are down, do as much damage as you can. If his shield pops up, it's probably because there's another knight. So the way to kill the Taken Howler, for one, is to make sure the knights are close in proximity to him, then dump as much damage in as you can. But you can finally make progress on this Triumph Contact Heavy Hitters that is part of the Forerunner seal, and this is one that you probably have been trying to do for a while, but it's been glitched. Now, it was fixed last week, but it worked on Monstrosity before, and it was the only one it was working on, so that was just a duplicate. This is the first week it's here, and then next week we should be able to finish this one up with a Taken Pyromaster once we make, the full cycle of bosses for the Contact public event. So once you finish the Contact public event twice, for one, this should be done on your first one, so that's always nice. We're going to head to get those Umbral traces. Now, this week on the Means to an End quest, you have a couple different options: Heroic Adventures, Crucible, Survival, Elimination, or Trials. You also have Menagerie. My recommendation is Menagerie, mostly because it seems to go the fastest, and it's the most fun activity for me, and it's one of those that's leaving, so you may as well enjoy it for a little while longer. Now, when you go to the director for Menagerie, you've got a couple things that you can see. So if you pick the normal difficulty, it's 750. It's pretty straightforward in activity. You're going to have a Singe, which is going to increase damage from 1 damage type, Arc, Solar, Void. It seems like it's going to be Arc this week for the regular. And 1 positive, 1 negative modifier. So don't get hit by melees, no radar, but I've got Grenadier. Now I went through this a run. Biggest thing when you're going through trying to get Umbral traces in something PvE, try and make sure you get some damage on major enemies. Now you're not going to tag every single one because there's a lot going on, but the more you tag, the better off you're going to see those larger chunks of Umbral essence drop. Heaps, hordes, the ones with different names besides just the singles that pop up. It's still good to use your abilities, like throw all the grenades you can for kills. Those are going to give you those single shots of Umbral Trace. But the bosses and the majors are the ones that are really going to help you out. So if you ever see a boss spawn anywhere throughout an encounter, make sure you get some damage on them, so make sure you do get those heaps and hordes dropping. Now, for some people, it may feel like it's a little slower. I went through a run of Menagerie and I got about 51%. So if I did 2, I probably would have been done. But there's also another method you can use. If you go to Heroic Menagerie, and this may sound crazy for some of you guys, but it's probably not. Now, Extinguish is there. If you die, then you will go back to orbit and start back over, but you literally start back over in the room you want to be in anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you're on console, trust me, I understand. Loading times are rough. So that caveat out of the way. We're still going to have a Singe. This one's solar, so it's not the same, so pay attention to it. And I've also got Grenadier. Now, that may be on the same rotation, but make sure you always check. Now, for me, basically what you're doing is you're loading into the first room with those 6 little fire pits, and every boss you kill, you're going to see 2 orbs drop, and you go dunk the orbs. Well, you can load into Heroic Menagerie by yourself, and the nice thing is, those little bosses that spawn in the beginning, they continuously spawn. So, as you guys have seen, I put some gameplay on the screen right now. Every time I kill one of those bosses, I don't pick up the orbs, but you'll see the heap and the horde of Umbral traces show up, and I'm basically guaranteed to get those because I'm the only one in there. Now, the nice thing is if you play the modifiers well, you can actually have a whole lot of fun doing this, and it goes fairly quickly. So, for example, if you're doing Solar Singe and Grenadiers, what's on right now, I throw a grenade, I take out about half of his health. Now, I'm also using Xenophage, which, yes, it's a powerful exotic, but it's been in the game for a year, so hopefully you've got it. But even another machine gun, a couple grenade launcher, a couple shots, you're going to be able to kill the bosses fairly quickly. And then as long as you manage the ads, and I just kind of hid off to the left of the room behind a block, and I was mostly doing okay. As long as you don't progress the encounter, you should be okay, because it starts out just goblins and a boss, As long as you don't continually kill a whole bunch of things, you're not going to progress and make it any harder or spawn any extra enemies in. So if you sit there and just manage the regular ads with anything, you could do it with a basic breach load grenade launcher. I used Mountaintop, which I know not everybody has. Truth Teller would probably be just as good, if not better, because you could still use Xenophage as an exotic. And then also just, anything to manage the ads. A solar weapon probably works because you are getting bonus damage. So you've got two options. Heroic, you can sit there and just farm that boss over and over. It may be boring, but you'll probably knock it about just as quickly. Or if you do the regular menagerie, regular difficulty, do it in 2 or 3 runs and you're good to go. It's not that big of a deal, but both can work. So it just depends on if you do a menagerie run and you see like 20% for some reason, like you may just not have been as active that time to tag as many of the bosses for those big drops. Try the heroic. May not be a bad idea. So once you finish up getting your Umbral traces, however you get them, it's up to you. But I think Menagerie is the most fun, and you won't see it in about 3 months anyway, or 2 at this point. You have Interference to run. It is back on just kind of, I think this is week 6. So we are seeing just kind of the 3rd mission setup that you've seen before. And you will need something with barrier, or just a very powerful thing like a sword. And you can burn through a couple of the champions without even worrying about barrier. But at least bring barrier with you on something, even like an auto rifle, just so you can knock it out. Cool bit of lore this week. This one is going to be just a cool one. If you guys ever want to hear me like read the lore or anything kind of crazy like that, I could. It's up to you guys. But it's definitely nice to knock this one out. And remember, you get your +2 pinnacle drop. So remember, if you're at least 1050, the gear from this whole quest line each week is going to give you a +2 for pinnacle gear. So it's going to be from 1050 to 1052, for example. Now, if you're under 1050, this is going to give you a pretty big boost. It's like a +5, but when you're in the last 10 level of that pinnacle grind, it's at least counting as a +2. So it's a good drop to save to make sure you're kind of at that high level as possible. Other than that in the game, nothing too major is going on. You've got your basic powerfuls, your basic pinnacles. Remember, you got your 3 strikes for the +1. Nightfalls are a +2 pinnacle. And if you guys are wondering what I mean by that, I've got a full guide about leveling out there, so you can go look that one up. But basically, remember, when you level, once you hit 1050, it's the last 10 levels, and they're slower, so they're a different type of grind. You've got your Gambit matches. And for Crucible this week, your rotators are Clash and Countdown. And then, of course, your Pinnacle is on the core playlist set. Other than that, there's not a ton happening. So for me this week, I'm probably going to be working on probably a Prophecy dungeon run for sure. I'm going to practice on solo. We'll see if solo flawless happens. It's going to take a whole lot of a good run to come together, but solo practice will happen. So if you guys want to catch me on twitch.tv/Ebontis, I will probably be streaming that one there. But other than that, for everybody else, the main things that you probably want to be working on at this point are going to be your triumphs. So your seals for arrivals, you should be able to get most of these done now. You can get all 50 Savathun's Eyes with the new Ruinous Effigy quest. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got videos over that stuff as well. And then also for Moments of Triumph, you can still work towards progress. You got all 5 raids that are going to be leaving the game. You can work on those and get guaranteed stuff like the Contender Shell. You can get the Toast emote, and you can finish all of those. Everything else we're kind of waiting for. Trials, victories, that's 7. I don't know when I'm going to get to that one, but at some point I will. And just spend some time in strikes. So a lot of the stuff can be done. The final exotic, Traveler's Chosen, that one will be coming later on. That's part of the whole Exodus quest, which we started last week, but we cannot make any new progress on right now. Other than that, keep working on the eyes, your season pack progress rank. A couple of these are probably going to be related to Solstice of Heroes, which is going to launch in August, so we can't do all of them, but if you try and get everything done that you can be pretty close to your Moments of Triumph seal, from the out for now. I did want to point this out real quick, though. For the bounties on the planets where you do the Exodus quest, and if you haven't done that yet, start with Zavala. He's going to send you to all the planets that have these pyramid ships floating out there. You're going to have 2 weekly bounties. One is precision shots with the scout rifle on Titan. The other is complete a strike on Titan and defeat Hive on Titan. They're usually pretty easy and safe if you're doing the Contact Public event or hunting for Savathun's Eyes or anything of that nature. You've got a couple weekly level quests that are going to give you, for 1, a Exodus focused Umbral engram, 2, a crap ton of experience that's going to help you on your season pass, and 3, a little bit of that altered element, which is going to help you as you focus other Umbrals that just drop in the world. So you have these weekly bounties on each planet, so you've got a chance at even more, basically a lot more experience in just roaming around the planets than you would otherwise. So if you are looking for bounties to do to help progress your season pass and get that one up higher, remember, you have 8 more weekly bounties than we normally do, and you're going to be getting some focused Umbral engrams for specific weapons coming from those as well. So I wanted to remind you guys, don't forget about those. They don't progress the Exodus quest anymore. If you finish the Exodus quest, that's kind of where you're going to be until we get to the next, until they launch the next phase. But for the time being, there's still 8 more weekly bounties out here, which are still worth probably the biggest chunk of experience that you can get. So just wanted to remind you guys that these are there. Final thing I wanted to cover was what we've got in the store this week. There are some cool things. This ship looks absolutely ridiculous, so I wanted to point it out. And it even takes shaders fairly well, so you can have a good... That looks kind of cool. I'll be completely honest. That's not bad looking, but that one is definitely for 800 silver. Got a couple other things. We've got an ornament for Ace of Spades, which is still a fun gun, even though I haven't used it in a while. We have the ADONIS shell, which is just kind of cool looking. It's pretty big, first off, because it's noticeably larger than a ghost. And you also have Guiding Light on it, so if you are looking for a ghost with Guiding Light and for some reason you've missed that, having a ghost with plus 10 experience, you pretty much need to be using it all the time, so can't really argue with that one. Other than that, nothing too crazy on this page. You do have the daily offer of the Fast Lane shell today, so you can always check back and see how that updates. And also for Bright Dust back here, we have the Mic Drop emote, so if you're looking to get that one in for a good cinematic vid recording or anything else, we've also got the Fencing Salute, which I might have to get just because... For one, you stand up, you go on guard, and you wait there until you click stop the emote, and then you'll come back down. So it's actually kind of one of those that you can hold that pose as long as you want to. We've got the Velocimancer. Crazy name, but this thing also looks pretty ridiculous. Just the fact that it is actually going to take shaders pretty well, but it's a very unique shape. My brother said it looked like kind of a duckbill up front, and now I can't unsee it, so sorry if I did that to you as well. But you have a new ship here. I've also got the Taraba ornament for that weapon. It's dropping a Crown of Sorrow, remember. It's not a guarantee, but it can drop from there. You got the ornament for that. But other than that, nothing too crazy. And this week, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. So this is week 6 in Season of Arrivals. We have about 15 total weeks. So if you check the Season Pass, we still have 69 days to go. So 79-ish per se from reset time. So we've got 10 more weeks. 9 more weeks. However that works out too, I know it's about a 15-week season, so we have some time to go through for sure. So, that being said, this is kind of a good time to work on the stuff that you might be missing. Work on your triumphs, try and get groups together for raids, work on that pinnacle grind, still work on your Ruinous Effigy and the Catalyst, which is so great if you haven't done it yet, totally worth it. And outside of that, for me, Ghost of Tsushima comes out on PlayStation on Friday. I am going to be playing that on stream for sure. Got the podcast on Friday with, it's going to be a morning podcast of The Last Word. And Zoe TTV is going to be on here joining us. Should be an awesome lady joining us from across the pond over there in Europe. And then also, I will be potentially streaming, working on some Prophecy Dungeon. So, that's all I've got this week. Thank you guys very much. Good luck on the grind this week. Lots of things to still be working on at this point. As we look towards Beyond Light, I'm really excited. Hopefully, you guys are too. So, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you want to say hello, if you have questions about anything or tips about this week. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, Ebontis on both, and right here on YouTube. And right here on YouTube, you can hit that subscribe button and alert bell. You guys are climbing me to 50K. We've been climbing a lot recently, so keep subscribing. If you haven't done that yet, I got lots more content to come to you guys. So thank you very much for the support, and I'll see you soon.